Hi, today I'm going to show you how to paint a color wheel. First you need to draw a circle in your sketchbook. Draw it as big as you can on your paper. It does not have to be perfect. And we're going to break this circle up into thirds. So we're going to draw a triangle in the center. And at each corner of that triangle, you're going to draw a circle. Then you're going to draw another upside down triangle. So mark the center of this section, and this section. And you're going to draw a dotted line to connect those marks. Okay, now draw a large circle at each corner of that triangle. Now, in between each big circle, draw a small circle. Alright, now I'm going to use a marker, and I'm going to trace my 3 large circles that are on the ends of my solid triangle. These are my 3 primary colors. Alright, now I'm going to trace my 3 large circles on my dotted line triangle. These are going to be my 3 secondary colors. And then my 6 tertiary colors. Alright, if you want to, you can go back and erase your pencil marks. You can erase whatever you want. You don't have to if you don't want to. I like to erase my pencil marks that are inside of my circles, just because, no reason. I don't really like to see my pencil underneath my paint. And the acrylic paint that we're using isn't very opaque. It's a little transparent, so that means that you can see through the paint. You can see your pencil marks through the paint. It doesn't cover it up. Alright, now we're going to paint this color wheel only using the 3 primary colors. We have 2 different kinds of blues. We have a cool blue and a warm blue. They're still both blue, but this blue is going to mix with yellow to make a really nice bright green. If we used this blue, the warm blue, to make green, it would make more of a forest or a darkish green. And then we use the warm blue to mix with red to make violet. If we use the cool blue to make violet, it's going to be a really dark violet. It almost looks black on our paper. So the cool blue is a little bit brighter, and the warm blue looks a little bit darker. You can see the difference there. So let's mark the colors on our color wheel just so we don't accidentally color in the wrong spots. Our 3 primary colors, we can start with any one that we want. We could put yellow here, or red, or blue. I'm going to start with red. And then I'm going to do yellow and blue. Now, this is our secondary color, but we can't just place any secondary color here. We're going to put the secondary color that you get when you mix red and yellow. Red and yellow make orange. Okay? Yellow and blue make green. And blue and red make violet. Alright, now all of our tertiary colors, red plus orange is red-orange. Yellow plus orange is yellow-orange. Yellow plus green, yellow-green. Blue plus green, blue-green. Blue-violet, red-violet. Okay. Now we're going to start painting, and we're going to start painting by coloring in our 3 primary colors. So I'm going to dip my paintbrush into my paint just the tip of it. And I'm going to make sure to paint in the lines. You always want to make sure you have control over your tools that you're using. Yes, this is just practice, so it's not extremely important. Once you've had some painting practice and you know you can paint in the lines, then it's okay to paint out of the lines. But if you're just starting and this is practice, then you need to practice painting in the lines. Notice how I'm pulling my paintbrush and pulling it from side to side. I'm never pushing forward on my paintbrush and messing up the bristles or the hair. I'm always keeping the bristles nice and straight. Okay, now I'm going to wash my paintbrush. And to wash my paintbrush, I just gently swirl it onto the bottom of my water cup. And to get the excess water out of my paintbrush, I'm going to gently rub it onto the rim of the cup. And then I'm going to use my paper towel to make sure that it's clean. And now I'm going to go ahead and paint my yellow. Acrylic paint is water-based, so if you wanted to thin out your paint, say it was really thick and tacky or sticky, you could always add some water to it to make it more like a watercolor. Or if you wanted it to be more transparent, you could add a little water to it as well. Acrylic paint dries really fast. Okay, for the blue, you can choose either cool blue or warm blue. I like how bright the cool blue is, so I'm going to use cool blue. Okay. Next, I'm going to start mixing my tertiary and my secondary colors. And for this part, I always tell my students, start with the lighter color first when mixing colors. It's easier to get darker, it's harder to work backwards, and it's harder to make your colors lighter. So if I'm making orange, I'm going to start with yellow. And since I'm starting with yellow, it's going to be easier to work my way up towards my darker color. So I'm actually going to start out by making yellow-orange. And then I'm going to add a little bit more red to make orange and more red to make red-orange. So I'm going to scoop up some yellow and put it in a new spot. And I'm going to add the tiniest little speck of red. Okay, just a very, very small amount of red. To mix my paint, I kind of smush the two colors together. If you just swirl them like this, your paint circle will just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So if that happens, I try to kind of scrape the paint back to the center, or you can kind of twist your paintbrush to get paint off of your brush and move it around that way as well. Okay, so this is like a golden yellow. If you like this as your yellow-orange, you could paint it this color, or you could even add a tiny bit more red. I'm going to add just a little bit more. It's not really doing much, but I don't want to add too much. You can see I wiped some off over here before I mixed it in with the rest of my paint. Like I said, it's easier to add more dark and to get darker slowly than to work backwards and try to get lighter. So this is a pretty good yellow-orange, so I'm going to paint my yellow-orange circle. Now I'm going to add a little bit more red to get orange. Now your orange might look a little bit different than mine, and that's totally fine. Your goal is just to make your colors look different from each other. So as long as this doesn't look like your yellow-orange, and as long as it doesn't look like your red-orange, then you're good. I think this looks like a pretty good orange. So I'm going to go ahead and paint in my orange circle. Alright, now that I have my orange, I just need to add a little bit more red to make it a red orange. So I'm trying to kind of pull the paint back towards the middle. And when this paint dries on my paint palette, I just put new paint on top of it. I just keep reusing this paint palette over and over until it's completely covered. Okay. If you think this color looks too similar to your red, you need to add more yellow. If you think it looks too similar to your orange, then you need to add more red. Okay, all my oranges are done, so I'm going to mix or clean my paintbrush. So when you wipe your paintbrush on the rim of your cup, you're also kind of reshaping your paintbrush to get it back to that pointy tip. I'm using a round paintbrush, so you can see the end is a little curved. The red paintbrushes that I have in my classroom are flat, so the tops of the paintbrushes are flat and they're more square. Alright, we're going to make violet now. So the lighter color between your blue and your red, I would say red is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to start by scooping up a little bit of red. I want to make sure there's no yellow in there. I'm just going to put it right here. Okay, so see how I twisted my paintbrush to kind of get some of that paint off. And I'm just going to grab a tiny little bit of blue. So look at this amount of blue compared to the red. And the reason I have more red is because right now I'm going to make red violet. So I'm smushing my colors together, kind of scraping them in towards the center of my paint pile, and then I swirl and smush. Okay, if you have too much paint on your brush, just kind of twist it off to bring it back to that sharp point. Grab some paint and paint in your red violet. If your colors look really dark on your paper, they will look a little bit brighter if you don't have so much paint on your paintbrush, and even if you mix it with a little bit of water. I'll do that right here so you can see a little bit. See, if I add some water to it, it's more transparent and it's not going to look quite as dark. So I could even get some of this paint off of my paintbrush, and you can try to even lift some of this paint off of your paper as well. But that's fine. So now I'm going to add a little bit more blue to this to make my regular violet color. I'm just slowly adding blue. I don't want to add too much blue. I'm not trying to make blue violet, I'm just making regular violet. I'm going to add a little water. Okay, that's what it looks like. It's still pretty red. So I'm going to add some more blue. I'm just going to add it over here. I think that's a pretty good purple. So violet, purple. I kind of interchange the name. Some art teachers do not like the name purple. I don't really care if you call it purple or violet. Okay, now I'm just going to add a little bit more blue and make my blue violet. Alright, I'm going to wash my paintbrush. Okay, our last color we're going to make is our green, all three of them. So this time I'm going to use the cool blue to mix with yellow. Yellow is my lighter color, so I'm going to start with my light color. Make a new spot. Grab a teensy bit of blue. Look at tiniest little bit of blue. And this is going to turn a yellow-green really fast because blue is way darker than yellow. So we don't need a lot of dark. Alright, that looks like a pretty good yellow-green. Got a lot of paint on my brush, so I'm going to twist some off there and just grab a little bit with the tip of my brush and paint in my yellow-green. Right, now I'm going to add a little bit more blue, not too much. Okay, so this looks a little bit different than my yellow-green, but it still looks pretty yellow-green to me. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more blue. I'm going to get a deep green. Not a blue-green, not yet. That's good. And then this time I'm scooping up a lot of blue because I want it to look really blue-green. I don't want it to look like green at all. Some people call it teal or turquoise. Still looks pretty green to me. I'm just comparing it to the green that I have. See, I'm adding a lot of blue. Getting a little more careless with my color mixing. You can see I'm making a really big spot on my paint palette. Alright, it's a good blue-green. There you go. You have a full color wheel. You've mixed your 3 secondary colors and your 6 tertiary colors. Good job.